Hey,
Oh, hello, Robin.
hey, Robin, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
For a second, Robin, my mind went black, and I went, and I couldn't remember your first name.
It's
I
fine.
can't believe that. I've known you for quite a while.
Yeah, it's been a year or two now.
Yeah.
How is
How long
Ottawa?
have you been at council, Robin?
Well, I've been here twice. So I did a 10-year stint, and then I went away and worked for LTSA, LTNZ, NZTA. It was the same organisation, changed its spots 3 times for 10 years, and I've been back 10 years.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So a long time.
Long time. Well, you obviously must like it.
Something like that. Sucker for punishment or something.
Are you up in the middle of the night, or is it?
No, it's not too late. It's just coming up to 9 o'clock.
Right.
We've already had a dog hearing.
Oh, right.
Earlier on today. And then after this, I've got one at 11 p.m. through to 1 a.m.
Wow.
Which is Tahuia.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I was going to say, you're very committed to be here. 9 p.m. is not so bad, but the next one's quite.
Oh, I think we both enjoy what we do, right? So
yes, exactly.
Oh, talking about people who enjoy their work. Hello, Martin.
Hello, Ewan. I might get you to chair this. I can go off now. You can chair it.
Actually, the dog appeal went well. I chaired it. No problem.
Oh, great. Oh, fantastic. Oh, that's excellent. No, that shows it works. Okay, Dave Mack is an apology, but I'll just wait for exactly 2 minutes time, and we've got the quorum. That's a critical thing. Can you stay with us the entire time, Sarah?
Yes. Mark said to give his apologies. He's has a meeting, so.
I mean, put it this way: if I have a quorum of 3, I love all the other apologies. Trust me.
Yep.
You know. So we'll just come and we'll wait till 2 o'clock. So we've got the legal. There's no external submitters today, is there?
Yes, there is one member of who's going to be doing public forum.
Okay, what is that item? What is related to?
It is in relation to the speed bump.
Peach Grove Road, raised pedestrian platform.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
Peach Grove Road.
Sure.
Thanks, Robin.
It's all good.
So I take it, Carmen, he'll come in on the Zoom, and then obviously we're YouTube in terms of when we come back to that later in the meeting. Sure.
Yes, so he is going to come in via Zoom, and the meeting is being live streamed to YouTube as well as to our website.
Sure. No, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. Right. It is now. It is now 1 o'clock. I declare the meeting open, and first of all, I take apologies, and I have apologies. I know from Councillor McPherson, Councillor Naidu-Rolfe, Tipora, Mangok Tipora. Who else, Carmen? Councillor Bunty.
Councillor Forsyth as well.
Yes. Okay. All right. So I will move, seconded by Councillor Wilson, that the apologies be sustained. All those in favour, those to the contrary say aye. That is carried. We now move to the confirmation of the hearings agenda.
I'm happy to move, Chair.
Moved Councillor Wilson, seconded Councillor Thompson. All those in favour, those to the contrary carried. Are there any declarations of interest? There being no declarations of interest, we move to the confirmation of the Hearings Engagement Committee open minutes of the 9th of June. I will so move. Do I have a seconder? Seconder, Councillor Wilson. Deputy Chair. All those in favour will say aye. Those contrary will say no. That is carried. We now move to the public hearings section, just prior to item 5, as I understand. Carmen, would you like to invite the submitter to join us, please?
Yes, so the submitter is in the room, so whenever he is ready, he can start.
Oh, fuck.
And this pertains to item right.
So Dion, is that Dion we got there? Yep. So Dion, you're on mute.
Also, just note the presence of Councillor Van Oosten is recorded as present. Thank you.
Kia ora and apologies for lateness.
No problem.
Sorry, I was on mute. I'm new to this stuff.
That's
Right.
all.
Right, Robin, I'll get you to reintroduce the submitter, and then via Robin, we'll be obviously waiting for your input. Robin.
So thank you, councillors. So this is a follow-on item to the committee meeting on the 9th of June that we had, where Dion joined us for that meeting as well, to speak with regard to his concerns for the proposed raised safety platform that we're going to put in place. So for councillors, this information starts. I'm just trying to move through. Information on this item starts at clause 27 of the committee report. Basically at the last meeting there was consideration of the staff proposal and also Dion's concerns, and ideas for alternate locations were discussed. There was an undertaking by staff to go away and have a look to see have a closer look at the other locations and see if there was an alternate that we could work through. So that work has been done, and that is itemised in the report with 2 key alternatives that were investigated. So one was to move the crossing slightly south to be just north of Claude Street. And the other one was to move it further south towards 5 Crossroads and to be south of Claude Street, just next to the bus stops. So we've had an independent consultant look at that and look at the positives and negatives of that. At this stage, the preferred option is still to have the raised safety platform outside number 267. But it was noted that we could move that slightly by about ½ a metre south, which would mean that it had a slightly less impact on vehicles backing out of number 269. So I'm happy to hand over now to the submitter if you'd like, or I'll leave that to you, Councillor Martin.
No, Robin, I'll get you to do that. We hand over to the submitter.
So Dion?
Sure. So I guess, I mean, obviously I've been through this report too. I've got that information in front of me. So where I'm at is on the day, there was also another councillor and myself that put forward a couple of suggestions. The other councillor, I forget his name, but he agreed with myself. However, from looking at these drawings, neither of the 2 other proposals are in any of the positions that we recommended. So I'm unsure as to why that's happened. So I just guess that's why I'm sort of here today, is to sort of find out as to why we haven't looked at the 2 options that were suggested on the day at the last hearing. I kind of feel like we've with this here, we've chosen another two positions for this crossing that are actually the same. They don't make any sense. And I feel like this is my own personal feeling, I feel like it's in an attempt to sort of kind of railroad it a wee bit so that we stick with the original plan, which didn't make much sense either. The two other positions that were discussed on the day at the last hearing, if you look at figure 5, the other position is very, very close to that one that's in figure 5. However, it's probably another 10 meters south, and it's a continuation of the footpath on the corner of Claude Street. That was one suggestion, which is not where the other one is, because I do view a few of the negatives there that says that 265 will also have this problem, etc., etc., too close to the intersection, whereas if it was actually part of that intersection, that negative would disappear. The 265 reversing negative would also disappear, and I can't see any, I can't see actually there also is a negative there of a fire hydrant that would also need to be relocated. This would not become a problem anymore. And the street light, obviously there is one on that corner, so that wouldn't be a negative either. The other suggestion was on the opposite side of Claude Street, which if we look at figure 6 shows where the raised platform, the other alternative was proposed, which is not what we talked about in the other meeting. It was actually proposed to come back further towards Claude Street by about, probably I'd say 30 meters, and put it essentially across from that corner verge that you can see there straight across. So I'm unsure how we came to these two proposals because they weren't discussed on the day. And like I say, I feel like it's possibly in an attempt to sort of railroad it so that we stick with the original plan, because the two alternatives that we came up with on the day, there is all of the negatives that are in these boxes, basically it crosses out pretty much all of them. However, I'm not sure that I'm going to have any succession in being able to change anybody's minds around this. I mean, it's gone on for probably a bit too long now. So the only other concern that I had is if it goes ahead as planned, it's going to be forcing a lot more pedestrians in, let's say, from an undesirable part of town, if you like. We have a few issues already. It's going to be directing a lot more pedestrians to the end of my driveway. So what I'm going to have to do in order to make my property secure is I'm going to have to probably erect a 2-meter high fence and a gate of some description in order to make my property a bit more secure from the pedestrians from the area. And I just don't know if there's any way that council could help with that, or if there's any options around anything else that can be done in order to help make my property a little bit more safe and secure, with there going to be a lot more pedestrians sort of directed to the end of my driveway. But that's it from me, really. Like I say, the two proposals here don't match what we discussed at the last hearings and engagement. And so I'm basically wondering why we haven't looked at those options. And then, of course, yeah, if we're going to go ahead as planned, hopefully there's some sort of assistance that we can help in order to either make my property remain safe, of course, with all the extra foot traffic that's going to be at the end of my driveway. But yeah, that's it for me, and I appreciate your time, and I guess we'll just see what pans out.
Mr. Chair, I've got a question,
Sure.
if I could.
Question from Councillor Wilson, yes.
And it's to staff. I mean, I was at the other meeting.
That's right.
And I
So you were the person
participated
that
in that meeting.
made that other suggestion.
So I'm just trying to look back through the minutes. Robin, can I have your feedback to the submitters' comments?
Yep. Sorry. I wasn't sure whether you were just pausing to carry on or pausing to listen. So I guess we've asked the consultants to go away and look at alternative locations that are plausible and that could work. Getting the so the first one was moving the raised platform closer to Claude Street than what figure 5 shows. We had concerns around the proximity of this raised platform in figure 5, option 1. Because of the turning traffic, and getting even closer makes that worse. And so I am suspecting that is why that one wasn't progressed any further. It was about trying to find locations that would potentially work. Certainly in regard to the second option that was put forward, the raised platform just immediately south of Claude Street will actually be right in the middle of a vehicle crossing into the businesses across the way, which is why that one wasn't progressed any further, and that was explained at the last meeting.
So, Mr. Chair, if I could, so just let me get this right. So none of the suggestions of the elected members at the last meeting met with either, have been included in this new suggested way forward. Our suggestions were deemed to be just not effective. Is that what you're saying?
So we basically asked the consultant to have a good look at where locations could potentially work.
But with all due respect, Mr. Chairman, we asked you to ask specifically. We didn't ask you to ask the consultants. The elected members voted and asked you to look at some scenarios. Did you put what we asked to be done to the consultants?
I'll have to check. I didn't work directly with the consultants, so I'll have to see. Is Darman online? Darman?
Okay.
Oh,
Mr. Chair, in light of the fact that staff aren't able to give us that information, I wonder if we ring fence this particular item for another hearing.
So Darman is online. Sorry, he's just come on. He dealt with this, so I have got the person here.
I was just on mute. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we basically looked at, as per Robin's suggestion, we looked at what could work in that area, and the two options in terms of having it that within that close proximity to Claude Street was considered. And the other thing coming out of that was the existing, in terms of the raised platform on the southern side, just to the south of Claude Street, with the bus stops, that wasn't going to work well, because with the bus stop arrangements need to be a back-to-back type of arrangement. So that's what we had looked at.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, if I could ask, could you remind me and put on the screen exactly what the resolution we passed? Mr. Chair, I'm just trying to get an understanding of where we got to at the last meeting, and I'm pretty confident we passed a resolution asking staff to do something in light of the discussion we had. It would help me if staff could put that back up on the screen so we can see it and then compare with what staff have now come back to us with.
Carmen, I think I'm just going back to the minutes. Is under item 5 of the minutes. We had a staff action. Staff undertook to report back to the next hearings and engagements committee for options, excuse me, concerning moving the bus stop and or the raised pedestrian crossing proposed near 276 River Road. Is that the correct one? Yes. And then, but
yes,
I'm not
I think
sure.
so.
Yeah, it's a note. It's a staff action which has been noted in the minutes. And I'm just trying to think. It's not in the actual, what was resolved, because we took that out. But there's the staff action is noted and obviously forms part of the minutes, which have been. Carmen, I think that's all I need to add on that. that in terms of what I'm seeing there in the minutes.
Okay.
Right.
Yes, if you give
So,
me,
so
I can track down those
basically,
and put them up on the screen.
look, I don't want to make you go to that work, Carmen. I mean, we're in the, basically, I think what we've been told is we asked the staff, and the staff have decided it wasn't that both suggestions didn't quite work, and they've given us what they've given us today.
So
that
I
simply
guess
put?
just to be clear, the proposal that, so looking back on the previous committee report, the proposal that we had looked at was the one which we're recommending, which was further north outside 267. When we looked at this one closer to Claude Street, we've taken on board the councillors' feedback about trying to get something that was closer to Claude Street, but we've also needed to try and balance that with finding a location that we thought would actually work. So it is a really hard site to get something that's going to work well. And every location has some issues. The real concern about
something just quickly. I can't see any way in which it doesn't work with a stop sign at the end of Claude Street. That would mitigate almost every problem that we've got in the negative column.
Unfortunately, there are requirements around visibility for putting in stop signs, and we know that if we put in stop signs where there is good visibility, it's just not complied with, and people just drive through it. So
Okay,
putting in a stop sign.
what I intend to do to the submitter, do you have any final statement you want to make? Because I intend to actually then hold this item over, and then we'll go through this as in the normal agenda process to our submitters. Any other final comments you would wish to make before you leave the table? Obviously, we're also on YouTube as well, as you know.
Sure. I mean, for me, essentially, I would have liked to have been involved in the consultation process around somebody visiting the site, so that myself could be present and explain my thoughts and show. I mean, I live here. I deal with the traffic that goes past the end of my driveway every day, and I had been through it with the two gentlemen that came out much earlier. It was sort of really quickly, but obviously, since we've had an independent reviewer come in, I would have liked to have been part of that process with that person and show, rather than sort of looking at a map here, I could, we could stand at the end of my driveway for half an hour and I could show him where the problem is regarding the pedestrians. It is not up this end of Peach Grove Road. The problem is much further down towards the intersection, 5 Crossroads intersection. And I could sit there. I mean, I've got it in my head, and I've stood out there on numerous occasions and looked exactly how I see it would work. It's very hard to explain that and describe that without standing out there and actually physically seeing it. So I would have liked to have been part of that process with that independent reviewer, so that, obviously, so someone can tell me I'm wrong, someone can tell me I'm right, but that's okay. But that's it from me. I mean, I do definitely agree that there needs to be a crossing there. We have a problem with people crossing the road illegally. However, I just do not feel that up this end of Peach Grove Road is going to be as successful as what people believe it will be.
Okay, look, thank you very much for your submission and your patience. Obviously, we're still on YouTube because this is a public meeting. So sure. The submitter will now leave the table, but thank you for your time and also clarifying with questions. That's been most appreciated.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. We will now, obviously, what I suggest is I think we'll stay on this item. Robin, is there anything else you wanted to add before I turned over to the committee?
I guess the other key reason why we've looked at this raised platform here is around managing speed. The speed limit change for 30k has been put in place, and that starts at Tennyson, and the idea of having the raised safety platform in this vicinity was to reinforce that lower speed and to create a general length of road through to 5 crossroads where the speeds are lower. It is fairly much the exact location, sorry, not quite the location, but in the vicinity of where the pedestrian was killed, crossing from the medical centre. It is a really difficult site to get something that's going to work, and we have genuinely tried to find something that works well with, you know, the buses, the intersection and private property. And so that is the staff recommendation at this stage, to keep it outside 267, but by moving it south slightly, make it somewhat easier for number 269 for Dion to be able to back out and proceed north if he wishes.
Right, other members of the committee, Councillor Wilson.
Look, my frustration is I'm not a roading engineer, and I rely on the advice that I'm given. I'm feeling very frustrated because I do get the sense that that there was a position taken, and that position has just been held. And my difficulty is I'm not an expert in the area enough to be able to challenge that. But as it is now, I don't intend to support it, but I'm sure others will.
Well, can I suggest, I think there was a critical point, Robin, with regard to the submitter not actually having a face-to-face with the consultants. And I'm going to suggest that we, for the sake of 3 weeks, we hold this over and see if we can, and obviously we will have to make a final decision, which may or may not meet all the needs of the submitter, but I would like actually that final opportunity personally of the submitter to meet with the relevant engineers and consultants face to face. So that's going to be my proposal. Would you move that way, Councillor Wilson?
Yeah, look, I would support that absolutely. I think one of the important things is when the members of the public participate and engage with us, that the very least we can do is give them that opportunity. So look, I think it's a great suggestion.
And it's meant constructively to
exactly.
Robin and the team. It's not ideal, but I'm going to move that this matter be held over for our, and if we have to come back in 2 weeks earlier than normal, we can immediately come back and convene a meeting of this committee in terms of timing. So obviously don't want this to drag on too much. Is there any other discussion to Councillor Wilson's motion that the matter be held over to the next meeting to allow appropriate further work, further dialogue with the submitter, appropriate dialogue with the submitter? Councillor Van Oosten and then Councillor Thompson.
Look, I agree that wherever possible, it's useful for our residents to have an opportunity to speak directly with with the people doing or proposing the work. And I think Dion makes a very good point. He's the one that lives in the area, and of course he would know the movements best, although not being a roading engineer. I guess we all have to bow to their superior knowledge in this instance. However, so I'll support that. However, in the interim, I wonder what kind of protection are we offering people crossing the road who just will at that point, that they won't walk down the street? Is there anything that can be put in place in a temporary nature, and is that worthwhile? So a question, I guess, to you, Robin.
No, there isn't really anything that we can put in that's temporary in nature. I think the raised safety platform is our recommendation for managing speed and providing a safe crossing point that's at grade, so it's a more accessible type crossing. the next committee meeting, I think, is 25th of August, and our aim would be to have a contractor ready to go to do that work, do whatever work is decided as soon as possible after the decision of that meeting.
I think, Robin, through you, I have the power as chair to call a very quick one-off. We make a decision. So if in fact we're in a position, and respectfully, says I, albeit in the end, we may not be able to satisfy the submitter's concerns totally, but once we've had the dialogue and the further interaction, I would want us, if need be, purely because of the urgency, that we actually then I would just convene the appropriate meeting via a Zoom. Okay. Councillor Thompson. Sorry, Councillor Van Esten, did you have anything further?
Yeah, look, there was just one thing further. In terms of pedestrians, is there any kind of, we know that the 30-kilometre signage is up there. Is there, there's no other signage or tools that we could use to alert traffic to please reduce their speeds and be watchful for pedestrians or cyclists?
I can have a look at it. Off the top of my head, no, but I'm happy to have a look.
Okay, thank you, Robin. Thank you, Chair.
I mean, if there's appropriate signage, so, whatever you can do with it's a temporary situation, just to highlight. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. My question is for Robin. What the desire lines in terms of pedestrians, how close are they to the proposed site? I guess my concern is just that we're confident that most people crossing in that area will end up using it because it's close enough and convenient enough.
So at the 9th of June committee report, we included information on the ped counts that had been done. There is fairly even crossing along that whole length, and I think it probably depends on where people are going and when the opportunity presents them as they wander along the road to spot a gap and take that opportunity. The proposed crossing point has two functions. One is about trying to create a general area within that between that point and 5 Crossroads that has the lower speed. The reality is no matter what facility you put in or where you put it, you're never going to get everybody using it. And it is about trying to provide a facility that manages the speeds, does cater for those people particularly who have accessibility issues. So by being raised, it means that they don't have to negotiate the curb cut downs and go up and down, that sort of thing. Able-bodied people will continue to skip across the road where that best suits them.
Okay. And Maxine just sent me a picture of the desire lines from the last report, so that was helpful. I can see that. The other thing is it intended, sorry, it's probably in the report, but it's hard to skip back and forth to check. Is it intended to be an actual pedestrian crossing or just a raised crossing?
Just a raised crossing. Okay.
But with some sort of refuge in the middle or anything?
No, it's a raised, just the whole width is raised across the road. Yeah. So there's a formal crossing closer to 5 Crossroads where there's a raised zebra crossing there within the shopping area. And this, as I said, it's the twofold. One is about making it easier for pedestrians, but the other one is just managing the speeds.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I will put that motion. There's no, all those in favour, those to the contrary, that is carried. And Carmen, I'd like you to work with Robin on a potential date, whether we do a very quick 15-minute meeting prior to a major committee meeting. We're going to be in council anyway. Ewan comes on the Zoom and we just, obviously once we've had that meeting, then we move to a resolution one way or t'other. Okay, I certainly don't want it to be hanging around till August the 25th. because of the contractual and safety and issues. And I'm wondering if we could make a minute note of that, that it would be it is noted that the committee would have a special meeting to resolve this matter once on a soonest practicable date, following the meeting with the submitter and the relevant staff consultant. All right. Okay, thank you. Now, right, we now move on to we go back now, Robin, we're going to be in your hands. We go back to the beginning of the report with regard to staff recommendations. That's on page 9. Right, we're in your hands, Robin. Would you like to take us through the report?
Thank you. So I'll start at clause 17, which is around Newcastle Road. So we don't actually have many restrictions planned for this committee. So we did have a couple that we had feedback on. Newcastle Road was the first one. So there is a service lane that runs parallel to Newcastle Road, shown in red on figure 1. There is some new development happening down in that service lane that's accessed by that service lane, and we were asked by residents to look at some no stopping. The no stopping that we consulted on was to have it on the property side of the service lane, and if you look at figure 2 on page 12, it would be on the right hand side as we look at the plan. And that was just going to sort of minimise the impact on any parking through there. We've had quite a few people come back, all in support of that no stopping, but quite a few people also asking for us to look at no stopping on the other side. What we thought we would do is just, in the interest of time, is progress the no stopping that we had proposed, and then go back out to all of the residents to complete consultation on doing no stopping on the other side as well. And we can bring that back to the next committee. So at least we provide some relief in the short term, and can extend that further if necessary in the future. So that was that one. I'm happy to take any questions on that before I move on. It's probably easiest.
Questions? No questions?
Everyone happy? Cool. The next one is Cornice Place. So this is up the north end of the city in Rotatuna, backs on to River Road and the major development site for the, there's a retirement village over there that's being built at the moment. The workers have been clever and spotted the walkway that links from Cornice Place through to River Road, and parking in the cul-de-sac head. This hasn't been an issue prior to this work happening, and these workers parking in the area. The parking in the cul-de-sac head has made it difficult for the residents to use the cul-de-sac area, and it has also meant that the rubbish truck can't get through when it needs to. So we've consulted on no stopping in the area as a result of that request from residents. In general, there is support for the no stopping, but the majority of them see it as only being a short-term issue while that building's in place, and have asked us to come up with something that's temporary. Unfortunately, legally there's no such thing as temporary, so it is either no stopping or it's not. So what we thought we would do here is try a new product that's out on the market, which is actually tape. So it's a 3M product. It's basically really sticky, and you stick it down and then you can peel it up again later on. So the idea would be to utilize the tape to put the no stopping in. Once the development site has finished and the issue has gone away, we would then consult again with the residents to see whether they wanted that no stopping to remain or not. If they do want it to remain, then we will just progressively replace that tape as it gets worn out. We will replace that with paint, or if they want it removed, we can relatively simply uplift it. So that's sort of seen as being a compromise to deal with the initial problem, and gives us a solution in the longer term, which is easier than trying to black out or remove the paint, which never actually works that well. So happy to take any questions on that one.
Questions, members of the committee? Councillor Van
Um,
Easton?
Yeah, there's 6 driveways that come out onto that cul-de-sac, and in the middle of the cul-de-sac is a parking area. So I just was trying to figure out how there would even be room to park.
If, Mhm.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So if you look at figure 4, basically people are parking in on the left around where that tree is and making it impossible to get past the island.
I
And
see.
then you can actually see where the cars, that red car and the black car, are parked on the right, making it impossible. So in the actual, extent of the head itself, at the very top end, yes, there's driveways there they can't park on. So it's kind of that throat area as people go in.
Okay.
That's creating an issue.
That's where you would put the lines from
we'll
number
put the
9
lines
through to 10.
Yeah, we'll put the lines right round 9 through to 10. Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Further questions?
Cool. Thank you.
Further questions? Right. Robin?
So the only other thing I need to note for councillors is that we had proposed to put some no stopping in Horsham Downs Road. We've been contacted late last week by one of the residents in that area who are not supportive of that happening. It hasn't meant that we've had time to work through and come up with a compromise solution yet. So I'd like to just withdraw that particular line item out of this committee. We will work with the residents and then come back with the outcome of that to the August meeting.
So basically the staff proposal is the recommendations be Courtney, Maple, Cornice, Newcastle, exclude Horsham Downs Road.
Correct.
Tarapa Road, High Street, and then Anson Avenue, McDonald Road, Worley Place. Then we come back to Horsham Downs Road. Sorry, forgive my.
And
see, there's two.
We'll take that out as well, because what that was doing was rescinding the shorter length
Right, so
of no stopping. So that will get superseded as well. Thank you, Councillor Martin.
Right, so fine. Okay. Is there anything else you want to add to those suite of proposals, Robin?
I think the only other one is just for the councillors. You'll see there's a map with a whole lot of bus stops shown on it. Basically, instead of installing a whole lot of pictures, we've included a map that has those bus stop locations. What we've done as part of our tidy up is discovered that the bus stops that just have a single pole and are just a 12-metre length haven't been formally gazetted. So we're just trying to tidy all of that up as we've moved it into the GIS system. So
that's the photo map where we see the expressway on the one side and we see all these little orange dots.
All the little dots, yes. Right. So there's no new bus stops as such. We're just formalising what's out there.
So we're just formalising those poles.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
Gee, there's a whole heap. It's fascinating.
It's a new measles map.
Yeah, indeed. Instead of we don't even have to debate vaccination this term. Okay. Right. Okay. Didn't say that. Sorry. Just my humour. But that's good. That's actually quite a helpful. I like. For what it's worth, I really like those picture geographic maps because it's much better because it gives you a bit of kind of context for the city in terms of our boundaries and our future boundaries. No, that's good. And obviously the aerial photos in terms of the no stopping. Right, does any member of the committee have anything to add or question? Right, I will propose that I'm happy to move the staff recommendation with the exception of the 2 references to Horsham Downs Road. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by my Deputy Chair, Councillor Wilson. Is there debate? Oh, I'd much rather be chair of another committee. There's no debate. Sorry. My humour. I'll stop that. No, thank you. I think seriously, we've had quite a good comprehensive analysis, and I will now put the motion. All those in favour would say aye. Those to the contrary. It is carried. Carmen, there's nothing else that we need to? I'm just going back to the agenda. Is there anything further?
No, so it was just item 5. We have confirmed the last minute, so it looks like we're all fine.
Right. So basically, with regard to the item we want to come back to, I'm noticing, for example, we've got I think a community committee meeting. There's a couple of options, and just running this past members of the committee, and basically, while we would notify everyone, we would very clearly target those councillors who are here today and heard this. Obviously, others can participate. And I think from a practicality point of view, Carmen, what I would intend to do, and perhaps you need to research, I want you to research if we could go into the committee room 1 at, say, 9 a.m. on, prior to the 9:30 p.m. meeting, or even 9:10. And we then just have to establish the appropriate camera screen for the 2 committee members who are present today who would need to remain on Zoom. Okay, so can you just do that research, that we've got that technology? I think that would be a heck of a lot easier than people milling into it. So we just a quick meeting in probably committee room 1, if we can work that. And Robin, can you, as I understand it, you're going to now meet with the submitter, the appropriate consultant will meet with the submitter, and then you'll come back to us. Is that the line of, and the sooner we do this, the better, for obvious reasons.
Yes, yes.
Are the other committee members happy with that approach?
Yeah, I think that's really good.
Okay, because I am, I'm conscious of the broader safety issue that we cannot lose sight of. So the sooner the better. And Robin, I'll leave you to liaise directly with Carmen, but I think we would just take an opportunity, whether it's prior to an elected member session or a committee, and then we'll take whatever physical room we need to take in order to do that. Okay.
That's
right. Without
appreciated.
further ado, I'll declare this meeting closed. Thank you for your attendance.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
It's always good to see you in such good humour, Martin.
Well,
Maybe a stint